Hi, George here, and today I'll be showing you how to use the Photoshop Elements crop tool. It's very easy to use, but there are a couple things you may not know about. First off, though, if you have questions about any tool inside of Photoshop Elements, I have a great resource for that. Let me bring that up for you. And this is my photo coach for Photoshop Elements right here. Right now I'm in the Tools section. This is the crop tool, and I have in-depth discussions on every single tool inside of Photoshop Elements. You can see them all right down over here. Every tool in the whole program. All right here, easy to get to. If you want to find out more information about this, I'll put a link for this at the top of the description. Okay, back over here again. You use the crop tool to cut out parts of an image that you don't want. Now, sometimes you don't need to use the crop tool. In this image, I think this is perfect. Even though she's not that large in the picture, it really shows us this depth of these mountains back here, and it gives you a great idea of what she's doing. So I think in context, this is a perfectly cropped picture. The problem on this picture, of course, is this person in behind. Fix that in a different video. So here's an example of a picture that does not need cropping. Here's an example of a picture that does need cropping. Now, obviously, the photographer wanted to get this fountain back over here into the shot. So we had the newlyweds over here, left-hand side, fountain on the right-hand side. That's fair enough, except that the fountain's out of focus. It's not really that interesting. You really want to have your focus over here on the couple, not on this fountain. So in this case, this picture is cropped totally wrong. We'll fix this one in this video. Another example over here where pictures are cropped wrong. This often happens if photographers are paying too much attention to the background, like we saw in that fountain. Same thing here. You might think this is a nice picture of a family, and it is. You wonder, why are they off center? Well, the reason is the photographer is paying attention to this bright light back here, left-hand side, wanted to include this into the picture. But most people are going to be ignoring that. All they see is a family is off in the wrong part of the pictures, way off to the right-hand side. So both of these need cropping. Let me just dock this up here. There we go. Just as an aside, if you don't have docking working on your copy of Photoshop Elements, it's an option. Go up to the Edit menu, come down to Preferences and General, and this is the option right down here, Allow Floating Documents in Advanced Mode. If you're in an earlier version of Photoshop Elements, this will say Expert Mode, same exact thing. Okay, let's take a look at our crop tool. Left-hand side is right down here. It says Modify. Click on that, and here we go. Brings up the Options panel across the bottom, and it gives you some suggestions down below here. Now, I don't always agree with these suggestions. If you scroll over these, notice how the grid changes. You can see what that looks like. That one's not too bad, but it's not perfect. There's no help on that one, and that one's just totally wrong. I found that most of the time the crop suggestions are basically wrong, so I ignore those. So we have this grid that shows up. Right now, it's a 9-cell grid. Your grid overlay is right down here. You have no grid, 9-cell, and a tighter grid if you need that grid to help you visualize where the crop is going to be. I almost always leave mine at the 9 grid. This is the rule of thirds. You also can change your measurements, pixels inch or pixels centimeter. Left-hand side over here, here is where the real power of this comes in. You can choose to use the photo ratio. That's the existing ratio of the photograph. If I choose that, there's the photo ratio. Now, if I change one dimension, it will change the other dimension. And the way you can change it visually is just by grabbing the corner up here and pull in. And notice I can pull down. Doesn't matter if I pull down this way, if I pull it to the right. The ratio stays the same on the image. Now I would bring this in kind of like that. I think that's a much better look. I think she's a bit too high up on the picture. You can change that as well. Just grab this grid and pull it up like that and just visually line that up. So that's a good crop. If I hit that check mark, it would then cut the picture down to that size. Let's just undo that one. There we go. We also have different ratios. Here's 16:9 ratio, which looks like that, kind of a widescreen. 2.5 by 2 inch ratio. That's like that. Here's the 3:5 standard printing sizes. Notice that you don't see that cropping until I move over to the crop suggestions. We then see how that cropping works. There's also 4:6, 5:5, 5:7, and 8:10. All those work out just fine. Most of the time what I do is I'll use the photo ratio and then crop down from that. Now you may also see this little icon here, little symbol. I saw in the photo ratio, this will draw in a selection for me like that, but because I'm on photo ratio, it's going to keep that ratio in there as I pull this down, let go, and then there is that grid again, and that's the cropping. Now, if you like the crop, just click on the check mark right here. It finalizes that. It cuts the image down to that size with that cropping. Let's take a look at that other one that we had. Here's our photo bin, and that's right down here. Obviously, the problem here is that they should be the center of attention and not this wall right here, and certainly not that fountain, which isn't even in focus. So we'll go back to our crop tool. Let's see what their suggestions are. That's way off. That's way off. That's bad. That's bad. So again, the crop suggestions just don't work. I'm sticking with the photo ratio in here, but I want this to be a vertical instead of a horizontal. If we cut off this whole side of the picture here, that'd be a pretty good crop in there. So let's just click on this double arrow right here. It's going to reverse the ratio. And now if I roll over this, you can see here's the new options. Now what you can do is just click on one of these and use it as a starting point, and then come in, grab your control handles, and make your adjustments and move things around to get it just where you want. A bit tight over here. So this is giving up a little bit too much head space. I think that's okay though, because I do want to have some space over here, right-hand side, and still see the back of her veil on the left-hand side. You also can move this around like that if you want to. You actually can rotate your crop. It will then straighten that out for you. There we go. Control Z to undo that. So you can rotate your crop as well, or just pull the crop in. There we are. And let's go back and find that nice spot that I have, which is right about like that. I think that's a much better crop on this picture. And check mark, and there we go. Let's just back out just a little bit here. And here's our new crop picture. It looks a lot better. We actually see the couple now, and we're not looking at that annoying fountain, which had nothing to do with the picture. If you look over here, left-hand side, here's our crop tool. There's also down here the cookie cutter tool and the perspective crop tool, which are totally different things, and I'll talk about those in other videos. And again, if you want to have good instructions on how to use every single tool in the program, plus everything else, every menu, every panel, everything, all of that is over in my photo coach for Photoshop Elements, and a link for that is at the top of the description. If you enjoyed this video, just hit that thumbs up and also subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future, and I'll see you next time.